look about James Madison and Jefferson and Washington later, just to see again, after many years of study a long time ago, about those early days of our own country. And as you all may know, the first draft of the Constitution did not include the Bill of Rights. But they couldn't get enough states to ratify the Constitution of the United States until the Bill of Rights were added. And so that was a very major undertaking, and James Madison and others helped to draft those finally accepted 10 amendments to the Constitution known as the Bill of Rights. That did not include everyone. And it wasn't until after the Civil War when the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments were passed. And then, let me ask you all, when did the women get a right to vote in this country? That's not right. That's when white women got the right to vote. That's a very important thing to remember, because in 1920, the Constitution was passed, but when they said that women had a right to vote, well, you couldn't discriminate because of sex, it just really included white women. And it wasn't until 30-something years later that the civil rights laws were passed when Lyndon Johnson was president, after the civil rights movement, and African-American women also got the right to vote. So that was an important issue. And then the 24th Amendment came along later, and you didn't have to pay poll tax. But until then, in the South and some southern states, you had to pay a poll tax in order to vote. So you see that it's been a step-by-step progressive element. I would say in the 60s and 70s, the United States kind of breathed a sigh of relief, because Harry Truman, when I was on the submarine, ordained in 1948 that there would be no discrimination in the military forces or in the civil service. And then that was about 7 years before Rosa Parks sat in the front of a bus, or before Martin Luther King Jr. became famous as the leader of the civil rights movement. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, when that was successful, then, of course, we basically passed the Civil Rights Act, and people all over the country could vote. And I and most other leaders in our country kind of said, well, we've finally succeeded. We finally provided for equality of treatment for all of our people. That was a fairly brief period of relaxation and self-satisfaction and self-congratulations. But we've seen lately, particularly with the abuse of mostly white policemen against African Americans and so forth, that we still have a long way to go. So I would say that we've had kind of a relapse. And nowadays there seems to be another stirring of a deeper commitment by our country to now look at ourselves and see what can be done about the rights for everyone. And this includes the gays and lesbians and so forth, as well as people with different races. So we are in a constant struggle in the United States of America to provide, I'd say, a beacon light for other nations to follow and for ourselves to benefit as well. So it's been a long, continuing struggle that still goes on.
You know, the Center for